So have a think about those three things for yourself, in terms of giving feedback, performing consistently, and being a brand ambassador. And what are you doing in those three spaces that can help you with your performance, but also help you be noticed for your performance as well? Hi, and welcome to Helping You Perform. I'm your host, Paul Teasdale. Over a career working with high-performing teams from across the globe, including 7 years working with Formula One team McLaren, I've learned a lot about what it takes to drive results. In this weekly podcast series, I'm going to be bringing you tips, tricks, and insights from the world of Formula One that you can apply to your organisation for your high performance. Enjoy. Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Helping You Perform podcast series, where I bring you tips, tricks, and insights from the world of Formula One and help you accelerate your own performance. I hope you enjoyed episode 14, the last episode, which was all about career development and how I've taken my career from sausage making to Formula One and beyond, and maybe some of the lessons that you can take from that to help you move your career on. In today's episode, I wanted to cover something slightly different, and this comes from some questions that I had recently when talking to clients and potential clients about my experiences working with a Formula One team. And an interesting question that came about a couple of times was, what are some of those things that you don't necessarily see that you got to learn about, particularly around the drivers and around the team itself, that you weren't necessarily expecting or that people don't see on a day-to-day basis? So what I thought I would do is I want to share with you three key things that I saw that are key capabilities and core capabilities of Formula One drivers in the modern era. Now, this hasn't necessarily always been the case, but to be a successful driver these days, I think you need these three things on top of simply being an amazing car driver. And the good thing about these three lessons and three capabilities is that you can apply them for yourself, because I think they can help anybody accelerate their own performance. Now, I didn't get a huge amount of interaction with the drivers in my time at McLaren, but when I did, it was always impactful. Partly because you see these people on the TV all the time and they're famous, but mainly because they bring an aura about them. They bring an element of professionalism and performance that really does come through and helps inspire the whole team. So some of the things that I learned, firstly, was around feedback. One thing that Formula One drivers, and the really good ones, are exceptional at is providing really good, detailed, constructive feedback as to how to perform better. Now, this comes in the form of the debriefs, particularly on a race weekend. So how well has the race gone? What have we learned? And what can the driver feed back in terms of what happened on track and how they can relate that to something that they can then action? But it also comes in the design and the build and how the car is feeling. And this a lot of time spent in the simulators, understanding what the car is likely to feel. And then in reality, when you start putting some changes onto the car, what does that actually look and feel like for the driver? So have a think about that for yourself. Feedback. How good am I at providing feedback on performance in my organization? The second one is about consistency. Now, this came across really strongly when I was working in the time when Fernando Alonso was there. And it wasn't just about the fact that he can eke every ounce of performance out of a car. He's absolutely brilliant at it, and we're seeing it these days as he's moved on from McLaren. But what he is exceptional at is consistently performing. If you think you're in a Formula One car, you can't just have one great lap. You've got to have a great lap consistently throughout. And when it comes to practicing, you've got to be really good at sitting down and doing things consistently. And when you're sitting in a simulator, here's a little behind the scenes piece as well. What you might do is practice one particular turn or one particular start of the race, whatever it might be. But it's a short period of time. You're not actually haven't got the full race in front of you. And then you reset and you start again. And so being able to consistently perform each and every time to exactly the same level is an amazing trait that is something that will get you noticed, and it will also help you with your own performance going forward. And the final thing, and this is becoming more and more of a necessity for the modern Formula One driver, and it's always been an element of that, but it's becoming more and more in my view, is being a brand ambassador. How are you turning up at every single event, every single interaction with people outside of your organization, be that in social media, in person, at events, whatever that might be, and being and demonstrating and being an ambassador for that brand that you're representing? Because that is something that your organization values massively, and it's something that you can become really well known for in terms of how you are representing your brand and your organization, both internally and externally, through any of the media that you are dealing with. So have a think about those three things for yourself, in terms of giving feedback, performing consistently, and being a brand ambassador. And what are you doing in those three spaces that can help you with your performance, but also help you be noticed for your performance as well? So if you can do one thing off the back of this session, go and have a think about those three areas and just think of one action. You don't necessarily have to do one in each of the three. I'd recommend just focusing on one thing and saying, what would move the dial for me in one area of those three that's going to be most important to my performance and my organization? And run a little experiment. Try something new, maybe about how you present yourself as a brand ambassador. It might be the way in which you provide feedback to your organization. One thing that you can do to learn, be better, and practice for yourself. As always, it's been a bit of a short episode today, but I just wanted to provide those little insights. But as always, if you do have any feedback or if you want to get in touch, please don't hesitate to drop me a line. Go to www.paulteasdale.co.uk. One of the first things that you'll see that pops up there is the opportunity to set up a free 30-minute, no obligation catch up with me. I'd love to hear about your challenges, your opportunities, and how some of these lessons can be applied to you to help you accelerate your performance. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Helping You Perform podcast. If you found value in this episode, please take a moment to like, share, or review the podcast. You can reach out to me at any time, either through LinkedIn or through my website at www.paulteasdale.co.uk. I look forward to speaking to you in the next episode.